Greetings and welcome to another episode of Yesterday's News. My name is Pat Whalen. I'm the host of Good Evening with Pat Whalen, Chicago's only late-night talk show news alternative. This is Yesterday's News, bringing you all the news of yesterday, today. That's the bit. Today is Friday, August 19th, and let's just get right into it, shall we? This week we've been talking a lot about budgets. There's obviously been a lot of other things going on in the state of Illinois and Chicago at large that I have not been able to get to. I know, it's surprising. You'd think I'd be able to hit on every major thing going on in the Tri-County area in a little 5-minute YouTube video, but I am just one man. But I'm not a journalist. Hashtag not a journalist. One thing I haven't touched on at all is the Chicago Police Department. They've been in the news a lot this week for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, the Laquan McDonald shooting has made some press this week. The department has also come under fire in relation to the shooting of Paul O'Neill. There's a lot going on there, but instead of talking about one specific case, I wanted to take a little bit of a broader view. So I'm going to, because this is my video and I can do what I want. First article of the day, U of C researchers use data to predict police misconduct. Well, I'm glad they're not using not data. I gotta say, if you're gonna compile a study, data is probably the thing you want it to be made of. That's just me, though. The university's crime lab is in the first stages of building a predictive data program designed to determine if an officer is likely to engage in improper conduct with a civilian. Police brutality and misconduct and reform have been common themes nationally throughout the summer, so this seems like a good idea to me. However, a predictive system sent off little alarm bells in my head, and not just because I thought Minority Report was a little too real. Everybody runs. This isn't the first time this has happened, actually. Chicago Police in '94 became one of the first departments in the country to start a pilot early intervention system similar to the one being created by U of C today. However, it was abandoned less than 2 years later when it was criticized as being too intrusive. Similar concerns are being raised on the force by this program we're talking about here, so much so that the superintendent of police, Eddie Johnson, has described it as not effective. That is a quote. That's why I did this. Saw that on the newsroom. On top of all this suspicion, the new approach also raises the complex issue of what to do once the system predicts an officer is likely to behave. What do? Do you say, hey, I'm with pre-crime and I'm Tom Cruise, don't run? Do you immerse yourself in a bathtub full of ice and get an eyeball transplant, full on? One thing's for sure, I don't think I'm too out of line drawing these similarities between Minority Report and our current situation. Look at all these self-driverless cars in that movie. Just saying. I can't say I really blame the Chicago Police Department for this. I'm making these jokes about pre-crime because it's true. It's very strange to accuse someone of doing something before they do it. Unless we're talking about leftovers in the fridge. I know exactly how many chicken strips I have left. Try me. However, this is a mite hypocritical coming from the Chicago Police Department to me, which leads me to my next article from Chicago Magazine. Study casts doubt on Chicago Police's secretive heat list. Turns out the Chicago Police Department has a very similar way of trying to figure out who's going to commit a crime. For the past 4 years, the CPD has kept a heat list or strategic subject list that's developed using a secret algorithm that contains the names of over 1,000 people. This also makes me feel a little weird for very different reasons. It's a very similar concept though. We're trying to figure out who's going to do what before they do it based on data, we hope. The department says that this works, but unfortunately it's impossible to figure that out for ourselves because it's a secret algorithm. They won't give the names that are on the list, and they won't explain what the variables are in the rankings of those names. So for the most part, we've had to take the department at their word on this. A really interesting dichotomy to me. Obviously, big data has to be involved somehow, both in police reform and in predictive crime strategy, if that's a thing. So as they say, more on this story as it develops. Third story of the day, from the Chicago Reader. Cook County goes after small venues for back taxes, arguing their bookings don't count as live music or culture. Cook County sent a bunch of letters to very small venues throughout the city saying that they are owed back taxes in the 6-figure range. Why haven't these venues paid this tax? Well, county code stipulates that venues with a capacity of 750 or fewer are exempt from a 3% tax so long as the admission fees are for live theatrical, live musical, or live cultural performances. One of the venues caught up in this case is Beauty Bar, an awesome bar on Chicago Avenue that I have frequented many times in my years here in Chicago. Beauty Bar is being asked by Cook County for $200,000 in back taxes. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I just do not think the Beauty Bar is the type of place to have 200 grand on hand. I get PBRs for $2 at this place. But what do I know? I'm just a lowly YouTuber. The article also mentions Pat Dorr, president of the Hospitality Business Association of Chicago, represents about 6 of the venues that are being targeted by the city in this suit. Here's a quote from Mr. Dorr. At this stage, my impression is common sense will eventually prevail. I just worry how much money will be diverted from artist development to legal fees to get that point made. This really feels like a cheap shot for me from the county. I know they're hurting for money, but don't go after the artists for it, man. We don't got it. What's the next step here? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's a hearing this Monday at City Hall at 10 a.m. in room 1140. I am definitely trying to go to that. Are you excited for the Air and Water Show this weekend? Do you think taxing smaller venues is a low blow from Cook County? Do you disagree with my interpretation of Minority Report? How will I ever know if you do not leave me a comment in a comment section? It's just sitting there. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and share with anyone who you think might be interested in the fact that Chicago police is trying to tell the future, basically. As always, I thank you for watching. I'm Pat Whalen. This is Yesterday's News, and we'll see you Monday, where I'll talk about today. Yeah. Have a good weekend.